to another live speaker series event sponsored by the Foundation for Free Enterprise Education. We hope you have had a safe and happy week. If this is your first visit to our live series, welcome and thank you for joining us. These live sessions are being organized to provide you with a sneak peek of one of the very special and important parts of the PFEW experience, our motivational speakers. Again, tonight, we are featuring one of the country's top motivational speakers. He certainly has a story of overcoming adversity, something we could all use some help with right now. Again, we want to thank all of our speakers for participating in these very important virtual events. Before we introduce you to tonight's speaker, just a few reminders. As you listen to Richie's message, if you have questions or comments, feel free to share them with us in the Q&A box. We will be monitoring your questions and get to as many of them as possible after his remarks. Please note that questions or comments can be sent anonymously, so don't be afraid to share your thoughts. Since this event is being held as a webinar, one-on-one conversations between our speaker and the audience is difficult. Therefore, at the end of this event, we are excited to offer an open virtual meet and greet session using a separate meeting link. You can find the link to this session in the chat section now. 5 minutes after we end this webinar, we will log into the meet and greet along with our presenter, and you will have the opportunity to ask questions and speak directly with Richie. The meet and greet session will not be recorded, so please know the conversations during that session will not be shared. We look forward to seeing you there. So thank you for participating. We look forward to meeting with you every Thursday evening throughout the summer. Please check out our website at pfew.org for more information about past events, future speakers, and our taped interview content. So let's get on with the show. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the inspiring message of Mr. Richie Contartesi.
My purpose today is to introduce a very unique person. This individual is a highly sought-after performance and leadership expert. He impacts organizations and students at all levels, helping them achieve their peak performance. Before founding his training and development company, he walked on the Ole Miss football team at 5'7".
Young Richie's not a real intimidating from a size standpoint at 5'7" and 163.
And eventually earned a full football scholarship.
Finds some time, throws it near side, pass is caught.
But I was always told the definition of luck is when preparedness meets opportunity. There was an opportunity, and there wasn't one other person on that team that was more prepared than I was, so I took it.
He played professional arena football.
To the outside, touchdown.
Is a #1 best-selling author.
To become a best-selling author and a motivational speaker.
And a successful entrepreneur.
I'm not sharing with you how to move around fear, how to get around fear. No, I'm sharing with you how to break through it.
He's been featured on ESPN, USA Today, CBS Sports, Fox Sports, ABC Sports, and speaks in front of thousands of people each year with his keynotes and workshops. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, award-winning speaker, Richie Contartesi.
So I'm in 5th grade and I'm getting out of bed to get ready for school, and all I can hear are my parents down the hall arguing and fighting. I could hear my sister in the room next to me crying. And as I get out of bed, all I could think about is getting out of my house so I could get to school, but really so I could get home and play with my friends, so that I could play football. But on this particular day, I get home from school and both my parents are sitting at the kitchen table. It's this old wood rickety table. And my dad says, "Come and sit down." I go and I sit down. He says, "Your mom and I were getting a divorce." See, I have dyslexia. I have ADHD. I was told I couldn't read and write. School was really hard for me. And after my parents got divorced, it got even worse. Towards the end of my 5th grade year, the inevitable happened. I walked into the classroom and my teacher said, "Richie, go stand outside." So I went and I stood outside, and she said, "I've been trying to tell you all year that if you don't make a change, you're going to fail 5th grade. And I reviewed your grades with the principal this morning and you failed." Broken home. I was going to have to go back into 5th grade when all my friends were going into 6th grade, and I was now no longer allowed to do the only thing that I love to do, which is play football. And in that moment, parents got divorced, failed 5th grade. I felt unworthy. I felt depressed. I was watching everybody around me doing really well, and I would say to myself, how am I ever going to make it. And so I almost made the biggest mistake of my life by taking it. But something happened that changed my life forever. I went on the internet and I looked up the academic requirements needed in order to play big-time college football, my dream. And that night, when I looked at those requirements, I didn't look at them and say, ha, I can definitely do that. But there was a really small part of me, a really small part of me that said, it's possible. And there's times in all of our lives, everyone on this call, there's times in all of our lives that we have something that we want to achieve. And we can't say, you know what? I can definitely do that. But what we can say is that it's possible. And that night, I had no idea what I was doing. No idea. When I printed out that sheet of paper and I circled and I wrote down what I needed, what I did was I wrote down my goal. And after I wrote down my goal, I started to think differently. I started to talk differently. Things around me started to happen differently. A few weeks later, my mom comes home and she finds a school that I can make up 5th and 6th grade in the same year. And every single day before I went to that school, I looked at that sheet of paper and I went to school with purpose, with passion, excitement. I learned how to study. I learned how to build relationships with my teachers. I learned the game of school. My report card, it was embarrassing. F, F, D, D, like C's and B, like maybe. From that point on, I never got an F, never got a D, rarely ever got a C, because I wrote down and I looked at that goal every single day. The difference was that I had a vision. The difference was that I had something that I was shooting after. Now, if I were to ask everybody who's on this call or anybody who's going to watch this call, how many of you have something important to you that you want to achieve either right now or at some point in your life, I can almost guarantee that every single person, and if you don't raise your hand, you do, but too many negative people in your life have taken it away from you, have taken that thought process away from you, and I'm going to share with you how to get that back. But everybody has something. Everybody has something. And then I asked the question, how many of you have written that down and have looked at it this morning? And look at that every single day. And I can almost guarantee, because every time I've spoken in 48 states around the country, and adults, corporate level, schools, middle schools, high schools, colleges, usually roughly 2 to 3% of the room keeps their hand raised that they've written it down and read it this morning. See, lots of studies have been done. Only 3% of Americans actually have goals, and only 1% write them down and review them every day. And what's even crazier is a study came out and it said if you write down your goal, you have a 42% greater chance of achieving that goal. Now, obviously, that doesn't mean that you write down your goal and you do nothing. Right? That doesn't mean that you don't take any action. There's obviously action, there's results, and that's what we're going to continue to talk about today. But the fact that when you write it down, you visualize and you look at it every single day, you have a 42% greater chance of achieving it. Now, here's the key. The reason that people don't write down their goals is because it's not the act of picking up a pen and a piece of paper and writing it down. No, the reason that people don't write down their goals is because they have to hold themselves accountable. It's because they have to potentially look at themselves in the mirror one day and say, I failed. And the fear of success, the fear of failure, the fear of rejection, the fear of what people think about them holds them back from truly achieving what they want in their life, regardless of all the negativity going on, regardless of all the negative people in their life, the mental health challenges that they have, the barriers in their way, regardless, can still get what they want. See, the bottom line is everybody dreams big. The bottom line is that everybody dreams big because it doesn't take any effort. It doesn't take any action. It takes nothing. Everybody can do it in their mind. But the ones that get whatever they want, the number one first step is to have that vision and to write it down. You may be saying, but Richie, I don't know exactly what, I don't have that vision yet. That's okay. And we're going to talk today about, throughout the talk today, about how to find what it is that you want. Even if you say that, you know what, there is something I want to achieve, but I don't truly know what I want don't worry about that. Don't worry about all that. You'll find that. As long as you're constantly taking action and you're trying things and you're persistent, you're resilient, you're taking responsibility. And these are the things that we're going to talk about today, but we got to get the mindset right first. See, what most people do is they blame. They blame other people. They blame circumstances. They blame challenges in their life. They blame the shutdown. They blame this. They blame every single person but themselves. They don't take responsibility for anything in their life. And what happens when you do this is you become a victim. You become a victim to your circumstances. You become a victim to your challenges. You become a victim to negative people. You become a victim to people constantly trying to pull you down. You become a victim to everybody. And what happens is when you become a victim, you wear handcuffs. Picture and imagine yourself right now. You wear handcuffs. And you can never truly go and get what it is that you want, achieve what you want, and be the person that you want to be because you're constantly saying, I can't. Because you're constantly saying, I can't because of other people, because of circumstances, because of challenges. And when you live like this, you can never, ever get what you want. There's no way you can get what you want if it's everybody else's fault versus yours. On the flip side of that, how do we break through that? That's the question. How do we go from being a victim to what other people say, which is becoming a victor, but even deeper than that? We don't want to be a victim. We want to be what's called a relentless warrior. We want to be a relentless warrior. To make it today with all of the uncertainty, with all of the negativity, we can't just be a victor. We have to be a relentless warrior. We have to be a relentless warrior. And that's what I'm going to share with you today. Before I do, though, I just want to say thank you for being here. I'm extremely honored to be here. This would be my 5th year with PFEW. It's an amazing organization. Every year, it's an absolute honor. I missed last year. I did the 3 years before that, and I'm so glad to be back this year. It's an amazing organization. I just want to quickly say thank you to Karen and Liz and Michelle and Jeremy and the whole PFEW staff for putting this together. They care more about the students that are a part of PFEW than any other organization that I've had the opportunity to be a part of, and it's always an honor. And I just want to say thank you for being here and thank you for having me. And I know some of you are suffering right now. I know some of you are suffering mentally right now. I know some of you are suffering physically right now with sickness, knowing people that are sick. It's a very tough time. It's a very uncertain time. But here's what nobody is sharing. And I think it's so important is in toughness, in challenges, comes the biggest opportunities of our lifetime. From challenges comes the biggest opportunity of our lifetime. All the times that you've said, I should have, I could have, I would have, all of those things can be done now. You can pick up all these things that you've wanted to do. I'll give you an example. For so long, I've been talking about having a membership site every time I go and speak for educators and for students where we can all come together, a group of people, to overcome adversity and help each other overcome the challenges and the negative people in our life. And I've been putting it off for years and finally finished it during this time because I had the opportunity. This may be the greatest opportunity of your lifetime. And so if you switch your mindset and just for right now, think like that. And hopefully by the end of this call, you will keep that mindset. But it is absolutely your greatest opportunity, but it's up to you to find it. So what is a relentless warrior? What is a relentless warrior? And it's made up of 3 parts. It's made up of 3 parts to becoming a relentless warrior, to being able to make it today and take this uncertainty and this negativity and use it to your almost advantage as an opportunity to move forward in your life and help other people move forward in their life. And it's made up of 3 components. One is reason. Got to have a reason for what you're doing. Number 2 is to take responsibility for everything in your life. And the third is resilience, or what I like to call relentless resilience, because that's truly what it takes today in a world where the competition is absolutely fierce. Absolutely fierce. Now, here's the deal with these three things. You can't only have two. It doesn't work. You have to have all three. It's like a three-legged stool. You need to have all three components: reason, responsibility, and resilience, once you have a vision to truly get what you want. And ultimately, live the life you want to live. Design the life you want to live. But Richie, I'm in high school. Richie, well, I know there's people in college. There's educators on this call. This is for everybody. It doesn't matter. All of these three components are the three keys to success today. And I'm going to share with you a couple stories throughout our time together of how they've worked for myself and some other very highly successful people as well. So critical step number one is you have to have a reason for doing what you're doing. Richie, I have my vision. I have something that I want, and I've written it down, and now I want to go get it. Okay, well, what's your reason? Why is it important for you to achieve that specific goal? What will the end result be for you? And I love this quote by Friedrich Nietzsche, and it says, "He who has a why to live for can bear almost any how." He who has or a why or a reason to live for can bear almost any how. You're going to have negativity. You're going to have challenges. You're going to have unfortunate circumstances in your life. So my question for you is, why would you get out of bed in the morning and be excited? Not excited because it's Friday morning when everybody else is excited, but excited because it's Monday morning. Here's the question: what's your impact on the people around you? What's your impact on your community? And even bigger than that, what's your impact on the world? Why would you be excited every single day? Because the bottom line is you're going to get knocked out. You're going to get knocked out by life. Most of us just did get knocked out by life. But the question is, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to get back up and maybe learn from it and get better? Are you going to stand on the sidelines and watch? Or are you going to get on the field and play ball? We all get knocked down by life. Some people definitely get knocked down by life way worse than others. And those people that get knocked down, maybe you're saying, Richie, you know what? Other people have it way worse than I do, or I have it way worse than other people do. Well, that's your advantage. The harder it is for you to get out of it, the better person you are going to become. The more in the end that you will be able to do, because you're going to learn more. You're going to learn more about the world, about other people, about yourself. And all of this doesn't matter. It's a decision. I was at Ole Miss for 3 years. And after 3 years at Ole Miss of failure and failure and failure, after 3 years, I decided I wanted to quit. And I'll never forget this conversation I had with my dad. And he said, Richie, he didn't tell me not to quit, but he did say, don't let somebody's opinion of you dictate your future. And I'll never forget that, because that night when he said that to me, it triggered something into my mind. It triggered the fact that maybe I was going to quit because I was tired of being embarrassed by everybody who was laughing at me, by the coaches that were laughing at me. And it made me think about the reason that I've went through everything I went through to get to Ole Miss at 5'7", 150 pounds. Growing up in an annual household income of $13,000 a year, living in one-bedroom apartments with 4 sisters. Why did I go through I went to a school called Jacksonville University before I even got to Ole Miss and was kicked off the team because I wasn't good enough. Senior year of high school, broke my ankle. I thought to myself, what were the reasons that I went through all of these things? And then in the last minute, in the 11th hour, I was going to quit. And I thought back to the reason that I did it. And I'm going to share that reason with you in a second, but I want to focus on you. What are you passionate about? What do you love to do? I know you're in school right now. You're probably out of school now. So what do you love to do? See, like so many people think so far ahead. Well, I have to have this career and I have to do this. And hold on a second. Yes. Do you need to do well in school? Yes. That's part of it. But what do you love to do? What makes you feel not happiness? What makes you feel joy? And so I'm going to challenge you a little bit today. And one of the things that you can do is write down this question. What do you love to do? What are you passionate about? But here's another question that you can write down. What do I love to do so much when I'm doing it that I forget to eat? I love asking that question. I love asking myself that question because I have to redo this every year, right? What do you love to do so much that you forget to eat? And write that down. And then from there, all it is one goal. What's one goal? Richie, what's one goal that you can shoot for right now? It doesn't need to be a 5-year, 10-year. I always say go short first. Go short 1 month, 1 week, 1 day. What's one thing that you can shoot? What's one thing that you can shoot for? And I'm going to challenge you today. I'm going to challenge you today to write one thing that you can shoot for. And to ask yourself this question, I'll share mine to create clarity. Why do you want to do that? And when you write that one thing down, all you have to do, so many people and sometimes I'm a victim to this and it gets me down and I look at other people's stuff and I'm like, man, this person is so much farther ahead of me. And I get down on myself. And I lay there and I get down, I get depressed. I think it happens to all of us. And something I put, you can't see it right now because it's on the other wall and it's really big. And I put this 1%. Because all you have to do is be 1% better than who you were yesterday. What if you stopped focusing on other people who are maybe ahead of you, who are maybe doing better than you? What if you just focused? Picture and imagine with me. What would happen if you just focused today, or it's tonight, or tomorrow, on just being 1% better than who you were today? What would your day be like? What would your life be like? Because when you look over the course of a year, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years, if all you're doing is being 1% better, you're going to be so much further ahead, as opposed to what a lot of people do, the victims, right? This is what a lot of people do, is they look at other successful people and they say, I'm not there, I'm not even going to try. And they just don't even give themselves a chance. And so as you're on your journey of finding your reason for doing what you're doing, I'm going to share 2 of mine with you. And my first one is impacting 1 billion students together with 1 million educators by 2030. I've spoken at over 467 schools, but I never had a true mission. And this shutdown gave me an opportunity to find my mission. Here's the bottom line. I know what it feels like to have a goal that is so far away. Literally, that's so far away that all I could say is I can't. I know what it's like to have stress, anxiety, depression, difficult circumstances. But I also know what it's like to have one person in my life who gave me hope, who believed in me and gave me a chance. And I would love to have that opportunity to do that with you. Because you know what? Now it's my duty to do the same. A man by the name of Kyle Strongen gave me one 1-hour trial at Ole Miss from a relationship that I built with him. He gave me one chance. He believed in me. He believed in a 5'7", 150-pound dude going and playing at Ole Miss in the SEC. And he helped me believe in myself. And I want to do the same my goal is 1 billion students. And I can only do that with another 1 million educators over a 10-year period. That's my why for doing what I do. That's my reason for doing what I do. Now, when I was playing football, my reason was really internal. My reason was all about I wanted to prove myself right. I wanted to prove all the people in my life who constantly said you can't. I wanted to prove them wrong. And that was important to me. That was important. I wanted to be able to look at myself in the mirror and say, you know what? You did it anyways. Regardless of all the BS that happened, you did it anyways. And that was important to me. So as you go on your journey, the easiest first step is to start writing down what you're passionate about and to take action on that. And over time, you will find the reason. It just kind of comes. Like, these didn't happen overnight. But that night when I decided to quit and I was laying in my bed, that reason hit me. Richie, the reason that you're doing this is because it's for you. You want to prove yourself. It's not for anybody else. It's not for your parents, although I wanted to make them proud. It's about proving myself right. So what's your reason? And I challenge you, when you write down what you want, is to write right underneath it why you want to achieve it. Because when I wake up every day and I look at 1 billion students, it's really easy for me to quit. But when I look at my reason for doing it, it's really easy for me to get out of bed at 4:30 every single morning excited, going through all the negativity, because I believe in that. And so I want to help you find what you believe in, because you do believe in something, regardless of what's going on in your life. So I challenge you to write that down. The second critical step is to take responsibility. We live in a world today where nobody takes responsibility for anything. Nothing. Everything's this person's fault, this fault, government's fault, this fault, this. It's never their fault. Now you might say that, Richie, that's a little extraordinary to tell me to take responsibility for everything. I can't control death and disease and divorce. I get that. I understand you. Taking responsibility and being a relentless warrior is all about a mindset. It's a mindset. I get that you can't control everything in your life. So what I mean by taking responsibility for everything is saying to yourself, everything that happens to me, I have a solution for it, and I'm going to do something to get past that. I'm going to take responsibility for my next action because that's on me. I can't control all these other things. But what I can control is taking responsibility and taking the next step and taking action. See, when I was at Ole Miss, I made excuses for 3 years. For 3 years, I didn't play. For 3 years, I didn't get to run out of the tunnel. All I wanted to do was run out of that tunnel in front of 60,000 fans. And for 3 years, I didn't. And it took me 3 years to say, you know what? The reason that I'm not playing isn't because the players don't like me. It's not because the coaches don't like me. It's not because of because of my size. I don't know. The reason that I didn't play is because they were better than me. And I wasn't doing the things that I needed to do off the field and on the field to get on the field and play in a game. It was my fault. And so there's some things that I did over that summer, and I'll share that with you a little later, but it was my fault. And once I took that responsibility and say it was on me, I freed myself. And it allowed me to put together a plan. And so think about in your life all the things that you don't take responsibility for that you could, and then become solutions oriented and have a result. And I know I'm sharing with you a lot of information right now, and that's why I have that platform that has all of this information step by step by step. But you got to ask yourself, like, are you solutions oriented, and how do you become solutions oriented? The second something happens to you, it's not your fault, but the first step that you make is your fault. So think in your life of all the times that you could have taken responsibility and you didn't. What would your life be like today if you did take responsibility? I love this quote by Winston Churchill, and he says, the price of greatness is responsibility. We live in a world right now of no responsibility for anything. Everybody everywhere, from here, there, everywhere. Nobody takes responsibility. Everybody blames everybody but themselves. And so that's why this point, critical step 2, is so important. Number one, it's on you. Everything is your fault. I clarified that earlier, but it's a mindset. Everything is your fault. No more blaming anyone or anything else. Because a lot of times too, things happen. Now I get it, like death and disease, like those things are completely out. But a lot of things negative that happen to us, if we look back at what got us there, a lot of it is still our fault. Like we put ourselves in that position. Right? So number two is focus on solutions. We have to become solution-oriented machines. We have to become solution-oriented machines. Instead of focusing on the negative, we immediately focus on the solution. So boom, this negative thing happened to you. Okay, I have a solution for that. All of a sudden, so I own a CrossFit gym in Las Vegas. All of a sudden, I can't use CrossFit anymore. Boom, I have a solution, created a new brand. I'm launching it on Friday or on Monday, excuse me. Like that's the pivot and solutions oriented that we all have to be today. More than any time ever in our past. We have to do that today. Was it easy? No. Did I lay in my bed uncomfortable, scared, sweating, depressed? How am I going to feed my daughter? Different thing? Absolutely. Is that part of life? No doubt. But today, more than ever before, we have to become solutions oriented. And number three, we have to act on it. We have to act, and we have to act quickly. Take immediate action on the final solution you choose and go all in. You got to go all in. You got to go all in. So just picture and imagine for me. Just picture and imagine for me your life. If you wrote down your goal every single day, you created a vision board, you printed out pictures, you put it on your wall and you looked at it every single day. And right underneath that, you had a reason for doing that. You had a reason that was so powerful, that was so important to you for achieving that. And every single day when you got out of bed, you took responsibility for everything in your life. Even the things you can't control. Even the suffering you can't control. But you took responsibility and said, you know what? It's on me. I got to fix this. I got to come up with a solution. What would your life be like? So I challenge you when it comes to responsibility. I challenge you to catch yourself, because we all do it. Anytime you want to blame anyone, anything, any person, any whatever, I challenge you to say, it's me. And to immediately focus on what your next move is to get through it. That's taking responsibility. And I believe every single person can. That's the best part of all three of these things. Because it doesn't matter how tall you are, how gifted you are, how strong you are, how talented you are. It doesn't matter. All of these things, every single person on this call, every single person watching, every single person who will watch can do these three things. The person that you become in pursuit of these, in pursuit of what you want, matters more than just achieving what you want to begin with. But you will become a powerful person. Critical step number 3 is relentless resilience. Relentless resilience. And I love this quote that I'm going to share with you. And before I do, I think it's important to understand, I talked a little bit about in early on about the number one thing that holds most people back. Let's say you have your vision, your reason for achieving that vision, and you take responsibility for everything in your life. The number one thing that holds most people back that even make it that far is fear. And when I'm talking about fear, I'm talking about the fear of failure, the fear of rejection, the fear of what people think about them, and the fear of the unknown. This is what stops people in their tracks, stops people from being relentlessly resilient and holds them back. So I love this quote by Nelson Mandela, and he says, "Do not judge me by my success, but judge me by how many times I fell down and got back up." Relentless resilience. And today I'm going to hit on the number one challenge, or the number one challenge that we all have, that we all face, that holds us from being relentless, resilient, and getting what we want. And that's the fear of failure, rejection, what people think about you, and the unknown. The fear of failure, judgment, drives the decisions that most people make. Literally, the decisions, the choices, and the actions that they take. I'm not going to try out for that sports team because I'm worried that I might not make it and people are going to laugh. I'm not going to push myself into this harder class because I'm worried that I may fail. It may not work out for me. I may get down on myself. Fear stands for this: false evidence appearing real. We all do a really good job of putting limitations on ourselves, on telling ourselves there's things that we can't do. But your mind, believe me when I say your mind and your body is one of the most powerful things there is. And truly, at the end of the day, only you can hold yourself back. I love this quote by Michael Jordan. I don't have it up here, but I'm just going to share it with you. He said, I missed 9,000 shots. He said, I lost 300 games. He said 26 times I was asked to make the game-winning shot and missed. He said, I fail over and over and over again in my life, and that's why I succeed. That's Michael Jordan. Arguably the greatest basketball player of all time said, I fail over and over and over again in my life, and that's why I succeed. And you want to talk about being relentless and resilient, or relentlessly resilient? You're going to fail. People are like, Richie, you go into a school, you go into a corporation, you go into college, and you tell people they're going to fail? And I say, absolutely, because they are. And they should know that. You got to be real, like you're going to fail. The bottom line is it's okay to fail. It is okay to fail. If you look at all of, not necessarily most successful by wealth, but most successful by the person that they've become and how powerful they've become themselves and their mind and how they think and act and operate. They don't care what people think. They're not worried about failing. They could care less. They don't. And this is one of the biggest thing, literally the biggest thing that holds people back, is focusing on everybody else, their opinions. Actually, most people care more about other people's opinions than they care about their own opinions of themselves. We live in a world today, because of social media, that people care more about other people's opinions than they care about their own opinions of themselves. And you know how I know this? Because I suffer from this. I suffer from this. I went through a phase where I was really, really good, and then it hits. So the good news is there's a solution to this. It's really not fear, failure, and rejection, what people think of, that holds people back. It's not fear. It's a lack of confidence. It's not fear that holds people back. It's a lack of confidence. So my question for you, and I know I'm so used to like interacting, so I know I can't interact, but my question for you is not how do we overcome fear? And believe me, I used to share that. Karen, Michelle, Liz, Jeremy, I mean, you've known me for a long time. I did a whole thing on how to overcome fear for years. I don't do that anymore. It's not fear that holds people back. It's the lack of confidence that holds people back. So the real question is how to build confidence. How to build confidence. Because I started focusing on how to build confidence and not overcoming fear, and I was able to get past all of the opinions. Because that's not something I was ever used to this level. This is an extreme level, right? So how to build confidence. The first step is to get extremely educated on what it is that you're trying to do. And I love using this example. When I was at Ole Miss, I had one 1-hour trial, literally one 1-hour trial. And I remember calling Kyle. He was the one that got me the trial. And I said, Kyle, like, is it going to be indoors? Is it going to be outdoors? Is it going to be a grass field? Is it going to be a turf field? Like, what are all the drills that I'm going to be and that I'm going to have to do? And he shared with me all the different drills that I was going to have to do. He told me it was going to be indoors and it was going to be on a turf field. And so the second step is you have to get crazy, you have to practice it over and over and over and over and over again. So after I got off the phone with Kyle, there was 3 weeks. I only had 3 weeks before I had this tryout that I found out about. I was living in South Florida and I drove all the way up to Oxford, Mississippi. But before I did that, all I did for that 3 weeks is I found an indoor turf field and I put on my cleats and I did the same drills that Kyle told me about over and over and over and over again. And when I got to Ole Miss and I saw this big stadium and this was all the things that I dreamt about, and I went to school that first day, the day I had this tryout, and I was so excited to be there. My heart was pounding out of my chest. And I went to the indoor practice facility, massive big field. I'm looking through the windows and I'm looking at all the banners. And I'm watching guys like Michael Orr from The Blind Side and Mike Wallace and Eli Manning was there. And I'm sitting there putting on my cleats and I'm scared out of my mind. Like, what will my parents think of me if I don't make the team? What will my friends think of me if I don't make the team? But because I got crazy educated and because I practiced that thing over and over and over again, I stood up with my head high because I had confidence. And I just did the tryout. And so in your life, what are you fearful of? What are you fearful of? Are you fearful of other people's opinions? Are you fearful of failing? Of having to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I failed, even though it's okay to fail? Some people are they're not fearful of failure or what people think or even rejection. They're fearful of success. I can't be successful. What will people think about me if I'm successful? I'm going to lose my friends if I'm successful. What fears are holding you back? And in what areas of your life can you build more confidence to get through those fears? What areas in your life can you get more educated and practice more? Because the thing is when you do this in a few areas of your life, you build overall confidence. So you walk with your chest up, your shoulders up, back. See, a lot of people, they walk like this. And they kind of like walk like this. This is how I walked for 3 years. This is a weird topic, but I walked like this for 3 years at Ole Miss. Like my shoulders rounded forward. What a mistake. It was mental in my mind. What if you walked with your chest up, shoulders back, and you got educated on something you wanted to do, and you practiced that thing and you got really good at it, as good as you can, and you build confidence, and you walk a different way, you talk a different way, kind of like I was sharing with you when I wrote down the goal, right? Things around me started to happen differently. You get a little swag to you. You build confidence, and it goes into other areas of your life. And what begins to happen is you begin to get small wins in your life. You begin to get small wins. And small wins build up. You're building confidence. And then you start getting win. And when you start getting wins, your confidence starts here, and it starts going here. It's usually one of the biggest things, self-esteem. It's one of the biggest things. When I walk into a school, a corporation, self-esteem. We build confidence and we start getting small wins in our life that lead to bigger wins, that lead to bigger wins and bigger wins. So I challenge you today to get outside of your comfort zone. I challenge you to get outside of your comfort zone, to begin to build more confidence in your life. To build more confidence. And I'm going to wrap up with this piece on resiliency. Relentless resilience. Look, resilience is a muscle. You're not going to just wake up tomorrow and be resilient. That's not how it works. Resilience is a muscle that you build over time. It's just like going to the gym. You go to the gym, your muscle starts out, maybe it's big, maybe it's small, but it takes time. And over time, you build that muscle up and you become stronger and you become stronger. That's what resilience is. It's a muscle. You could call it the resilient muscle. And that's all it is. And I talk about those 3 years where I struggled at Ole Miss. 3 years of scraping and crawling and doing everything I could. And I remember the coaches used to post the list, the travel squad list every Thursday after practice. And I would be so excited to go and look at that list. Every Thursday for 3 years, I would run up to that list to go read that list. And my name was never on it. That hurt. For 3 years, scraping and clawing, and doing everything I could. And that night, when I was laying in my bed after that conversation with my dad, and I thought about my reason, I said, you know what? I have 1 year left. Like, this is literally it. This is my last opportunity. And over that summer, I promise you this, I was the only person that was in that weight room doing something to get stronger almost every day. I was the only person on the turf field working on my craft almost every day. I was the only person in the film room trying to get smarter every day, even though I wanted to quit almost every day. I never had an opportunity for special teams. I never had an opportunity to run onto the field. But over that summer, I did everything possible to get an opportunity. And guess what happened? At the end of the summer, a spot opened up on special teams. And someone says to me, Richie, you got lucky you got that spot. You got lucky. But I was always told that the definition of luck is when preparedness meets opportunity. There was an opportunity, and there wasn't one other person on that team that was more prepared than I was, so I took it. And going into camp right before the season, I knew what the coaches wanted. I knew the playbook, and so I did really well. Some of the other players that were supposed to come in, they didn't show up. So I earned a spot on offense. And right before the season started, I'll never forget this day. I walked into the locker room and we had one final scrimmage. This was literally it. This was my last opportunity. And I walked into the locker room and something just felt different. And I got dressed and I run through the tunnel out onto the field. And there was a bright blue sky. And there was fans in the stands, and I could just smell the grass. It was a hot day, and I was sweating, and I start warming up, and I'm getting ready for this last chance, and I get a tap on my shoulder. And when I turned around, it was the head coach. And when I looked at that head coach in his eyes, all I could think about was my first Little League football coach that said, Richie, you will never play Division I, or only 3% of high school football players will ever play Division I. Don't even try. I thought about all my friends that told me going to Mississippi was a waste of time from South Florida. I thought about my 5th grade teacher that said to me in front of my parents and some of my friends that I would never be worth anything. You know, they always told me that I wasn't talented enough. They always told me I wasn't big enough. They always told me I was dumb. But on that day in Vaught Hemingway Stadium, when I looked at that head coach in his eyes, he said to me, Richie, you've literally given me no choice. You're now on scholarship. Congratulations. He said, you give me no choice. And that day after the scrimmage, I went into the locker room. I got dressed. I ran as fast as I could to my car. I got into my car and I called my mom and I said, Mom, you're not going to believe what just happened. She goes, what? I just got put on scholarship. She was so excited. I said, I gotta call Dad. I gotta call my dad. Hang up the phone. I call my dad. I said, Dad, you're not going to believe it. He goes, what? I said, I just got put on scholarship. He said to me, I'll never forget when you were in 5th grade and you printed out those requirements needed to play college football. And he said something to me that I'll never forget. He said, I'm proud of you. He said, I'm proud of you. He rarely ever said it. I think about that reason for why I wanted to play. I wanted to play college football and prove other people wrong. I wanted to play college football. I wanted my parents to see I could do it. But ultimately, I wanted to play college football for me. I wanted to do it for me. So when you have something that you want, why do you want to do it? Because I look back, 5th grade, I failed 5th grade, parents got divorced. ADHD, dyslexia, almost took my own life. Senior year of high school, I broke my ankle and I had no chance. I went to a small school, got kicked off the team in 1 year. I went to Ole Miss. I ended up making the team, but then I was off the team again because a new coach came in, and then I was back on the team again. And I ended up not just earning a scholarship. I got to start in all 12 games my senior year, run out of the tunnel in front of 102,000 screaming fans at LSU and Alabama and Auburn. I ended up earning the Scholar Athlete of the Year award. I think it's one of these. Scholar Athlete of the Year award. And I ended up getting a degree from Ole Miss. But what's way more than that, I got to play arena football professionally. I wrote a book about it that became a bestseller with no idea how to write a book. I have an opportunity. I've traveled to Kuwait, Mexico, around the world, spoken with hundreds of thousands of people. And 5th grade, I almost took my own life. Started a gym that I'm working on franchising. I mean, all of these things, I had no idea. I'm not sharing these things with you to share with you cool things. It doesn't matter to me. Why I'm sharing this with you, because if I can do it, you can do it. And whatever it is that you want to do, See, when I tried out, there was 23 guys that tried out with me that day. I had that 1-hour tryout. 23 guys. The day I got put on scholarship, I was the only one left. I was the only one that stuck it out. Look, I'm sharing with you what I'm sharing with you today because of not just being successful, whatever that means to you. I'm sharing this with you today because of the person that you have the opportunity to become. The person that you have the opportunity to become that thrives during uncertainty, that can stay motivated because you have a reason, who takes responsibility for everything and builds the relentless muscle to get through anything in your life. Because once you do it once, it gets easier and easier and easier. Because I went through that at Ole Miss, I would have never written that. No chance. If I didn't go through all that, because the amount of negativity and failure and rejection I went to get that, I would have never been able to do that. I would have never been able to build the speaking career that I have with all the negativity, the failure, the hatred, the boos, especially in the beginning. I would have never been able to do that. With all I can't even share some of it with you, the negativity with the gym. It's now going to be Relentless Warrior Fit. If I didn't go through that, it's about the person that you become. And what's so cool about it is when you become a powerful person, a resilient person, when you become a relentless warrior, you will have this knack to do it to help other people have the same. Because at the end of the day, I can do my best to make the world a better place, and I will, but I can also share this with other people like you so you can make the world a better place. That's how we can break through all of this craziness right now. It's us. We're the ones that can break through it. We can break through the negativity and ignore all this garbage. because all it is nonsense. All it is an excuse. All it is not taking responsibility. So what's your story right now? Where are you today? And where do you want to be? At the end of the day, the choice is yours. Now, I want to be here to help you get there. And that's why I have my site. That's why I'm going to be on this mentor, or that's why I have my mentorship program. That's why I have the program for the educators, the platform with all the courses. That's why I'm going to go on this next session with all of you. And I'm looking forward to seeing all of you there. If I can mentor you in any way, I want to do that. I want to thank all of you for being here. Thank you for having me. It means so much to me. And I look forward to speaking with you. And I also look forward to your questions. So thank you.
Thank you, Richie. Thank you so much. And wow, yeah, great presentation. As you had indicated, you made some changes and love it. Fantastic. And we will get into that meet and greet session here shortly. So before we move on to the meet and greet and wrap things up, we do have a few questions, and in no particular order. But so when you talked about your first college game at Ole Miss that you played in, what was your most memorable moment?
Oh man. Okay. Okay. So I would say the most memorable moment I had was running out of the tunnel at Alabama. So it wasn't the first college game. It was my senior year. It must have been game 7 or, you know what? Actually, I have a different one. I would say my most memorable moment and I actually talked about it recently, was the first catch that I had. And that was at Arkansas, University of Arkansas. And I'd been standing on the sidelines, and all practice, we had this one play that I was going to get in. And it came to fruition towards the end of the game. We're driving down the field to hopefully win the game. And I went in. I just remember running in. I could feel my heart beating everywhere. Like I was on the field. I listened in the huddle, and I could just feel my heart beating like everywhere in my body. And ran to the side. I was on the left side and ran a route. The quarterback rolled around. He threw it to me, caught it in bounce. And the tingles in my body after that play, like, probably lasted a solid day. I would say about 24 hours where I had tingles in my body. Like, you know, that when you can feel the hair raising up, it was just like an experience that I would, besides the Alabama game, I will never forget that feeling. It's kind of one of those feelings that you'll always chase too, like once you have that. But it was an unbelievable thing. And I was so excited to call people and, did you see in the game? Did you see? So it was cool.
Wonderful. Gives me goosebumps just kind of thinking about it. That's awesome. What are, we talked earlier about goals and writing down your goals. What, if you would mind sharing maybe some of your goals that you have right now?
So the biggest goal that I have right now is I want to positively impact 1 billion students through 1 million educators by 2030. That's my biggest goal. This year, I had planned to speak at, my goal was to speak at over 100 schools, colleges, or corporations. That went completely south, right? And so I'm kind of glad that you brought that up, because that was my goal for this year. And on March 11th, I had 3 events lined up. I think it was the 11th, the 12th, and the 14th. And I was in Massachusetts, and it started getting crazy. And Massachusetts happened to be like one of the really bad states. And I was like, I need to get on a plane and go home now. And I went home, and for about 2 weeks, I was like paranoid, scared out of my mind that I had it. We didn't know how bad it was going to be. We didn't know about who was more vulnerable, and just like terrified out of my mind. I didn't go near my daughter, all that kind of stuff. And after it took me 2 weeks, and a lot of people were like, oh, well, you're like really quick. Well, no, like things take time. You got to be realistic. It took me a solid 2 weeks to regroup and begin to put together what my new goals are this year specifically. And one of them was to add 50 courses into my membership. and to grow my membership to 1,000 people before the end of the year. And so it's a group of people that are coming together. I do motivational talks every single Monday, plus all the courses. And it's to bring everybody together through this tough time, get through this tough time, educators, students. And so it's one of those things you shift and you go into that. And then as far as my gym as well, I completely rebranded it. And my goal is to open the first franchise before the end of the year. Granted, there's no major shifts and everything that's happening. So yeah, good question.
Wonderful. Fantastic. And you talked earlier about fears and being resilient and such, but what are you fearful of?
So I would say the biggest battle that I always have, and that's why I have that big 1%, is because I constantly am looking at people that are much farther ahead of me, and I'm comparing myself to them. So my fear of comparing myself to other people, before that, I realized I was constantly, even since when I met you 4 years ago, I was constantly sabotaging myself. I was literally sabotaging myself, and it was fear of success. I wanted to be successful, but I actually didn't want to be successful. So fear of success was a really big one. And one that I battle with is comparing myself to other people. And so all I say to myself, and I have a big thing that I look at every single day, is you just only have to be 1% better than who you were yesterday. And so that's been really helpful.
Wonderful. A couple more here. Do you have a mentor?
I absolutely do. Yeah. So my mentor, his name's Rich Bernstein, and he is the founder of Mars Venus Coaching. So he's the CEO with the author who wrote, John Gray, who wrote Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. And because of my mentor, and this is why I love mentorship, this has happened. Kyle Strong and got me into Ole Miss mentor. He ended up booking, I ended up booking an event through him in Kuwait with John Gray. So I shared the stage with John Gray and spoke in Kuwait. They had translators and the whole 9 yards. And it was an amazing experience. And it was all because of, and so he basically has helped me do everything with growing my teams, hiring people, putting systems in my business. It's just, and the biggest I would say is just having surrounded myself with somebody I'm here, he's way up here. And like, that's why I'm just, I love being around him, his family, barbecue. Like the more you can surround yourself with people who are ahead, or who know more than you at that time, man, like so many of these things, I'm not smart enough to do, like, I wouldn't have been able to do them without them. So who's my biggest mentor right now.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. And we do have one more before we get to our wrap up here. When you were the only one pushing yourself to get better, did the people who were better and worse than you notice and try to stop your efforts to get better?
Yes. Okay. Really good question. So both, I would say. There were definitely some people that definitely didn't want to see me do better. And there were some people that did want to see me do better. And what was really cool was, and I don't always share this, and I wish I would more, is after there was one person before me that earned a scholarship, and his name was Andy. It was maybe years before me. But after I earned a scholarship, it was like a trickle effect. All of a sudden, people started earning scholarships left and right after I had left. And I look at that as like, I inspired all those people to push through, and that's why they were able to do it. So that was really rewarding. But there were people that were walk-ons, like let's say when I was a senior, they were a freshman and a sophomore, and they wanted me to do really well. Somehow the dogs got out. And then there was a lot of people ahead of me that didn't want me to do well at all. And that's just part of life. I mean, you're going to have so many negative people in your life. And the better you can react to that, and I have a whole actually lesson on this, is how to react and handle negative people, the better off you're going to be. I think being able to handle negative people and cut people out of your life who are pulling you down, and it's hard to do, especially if you're in school, but it is a skill that can be learned, is really powerful. So that's an amazing question. And maybe when we get into the next session, we can really dive into kind of more of the how-tos.
Oh, wonderful. Who let the dogs out? No, but truly, as we wrap things up, thank you, Richie. Thank you so
absolutely.
very much for your time and for your inspirational thoughts here this evening. We are so grateful that you continue to participate with our foundation. And I know that you were scheduled to make the long flight from Las Vegas this summer to be with us and our students in Williamsport. So we thank you for continuing to believe in us and our students.
Absolutely honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
Our pleasure. And if for our viewers here, if we didn't get to your individual questions, we will be sure to pass them on to Richie, or if they were submitted anonymously, his direct contact information is listed on our website and will follow here momentarily. Don't forget, if you wish to join our live virtual meet and greet session with Richie in 5 minutes, the link can be found in the chat section. Make sure you copy the link now, because as soon as we stop this webinar to start the meet and greet, the link will be gone. So you'll simply exit out of this meeting and join using the meet and greet link. Finally, tonight's event was recorded and will be made available to everyone in a few days on our PFBW YouTube page, so be sure to subscribe today. Thank you to all of our wonderful donors who have allowed us to offer our virtual summer programming, including this live speaker series, our pre-taped interviews, and also our free offering of the stock market game. We appreciate you joining us this evening, and we look forward to gathering next Thursday at 8 p.m. when we will hear from Miss Jennifer Kronberger. Have a great night, a safe week, a wonderful 4th of July holiday, and we hope to see you next Thursday.